here we go again, our podcast, The Good, the Bad, and the Twisted. And today we have a very special guest, a friend of mine, Gahl Sasson. Nice to have you, Gahl. Thank you for taking your time and being here.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, so just a very short introduction for you. Our podcast is not it's nothing like a huge one. It's just for our community. So we try to spread the jiu-jitsu sport and lifestyle as much as possible. And you're actually our third guest, who is gonna probably share some thoughts about his jiu-jitsu journey, because most of the people are not familiar. Actually, you're training jiu-jitsu, right?
It depends. I mean, you know it. All the rest of my teachers know it. My friends know it. I keep it. I don't keep it a secret. I actually talked about it in my classes in Bulgaria. I think you had even a few students that came from some clients because, yeah, I would like to support you guys specifically, but I also like to support the people that I send to Jiu-Jitsu, because I really think, especially for kids, I wish I, as a kid, had the opportunity to do that. Maybe by now I would be a black belt with a little bit of stripes here and there, but it's okay. Maybe in a past lifetime I was, maybe in the future.
Okay, share your story, how you start. Most of the people actually are not familiar, probably, especially from our viewers, that you're one of the most famous astrologists in the world. You're a book writer. You do Kabbalah, numerology, astrology, different kind of things. But share a few things about yourself and how you start training jiu-jitsu actually, and why. You know, I think it's very important.
I mean, I started my journey early on with things that are beyond. I used to hear voices, not in a schizophrenic style, but more like loud thoughts in my head when I was a kid. And I used to write them down, and I was really scared of all of them. So I kept them in the closet, hidden, because I was afraid my parents will read about it and send me to psychologists, which they ended up doing even without reading it. So it was stupid. I should have just shown it to them. But from an early age, I just called it sci-fi, you know, my thoughts. And then I found out that I'm not that original. And a lot of the things that I wrote as a kid were actually written by rabbis and priests and mystics. So it was confirming that I'm not crazy, but it was also not that fun to read that other people thought about the same things before me. And then I started studying it. I studied psychology. When I was in Mexico, I encountered Kabbalah and astrology. I actually studied Kabbalah, even though it's Jewish mysticism from Christians in Spanish in Mexico. So it just shows you how the world is twisted in a sense, just like in Jiu-Jitsu. And to Jiu-Jitsu I got when I remember in Hong Kong, the land of Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee always was my hero. And then I thought, okay, Bruce Lee is dead. I don't know where I can study something that will be similar to that. And I don't know why I thought about Jiu-Jitsu, maybe because it means the gentle art. And I thought that you always want to walk the middle path. So the worst thing, so the middle path of martial arts is bringing the art inside. And that's why is the teacher, so I knew from Hong Kong, I'm going to go teach in Istanbul. And I just Googled to see if there's any schools of Jiu-Jitsu in Istanbul. And my first class was, funny enough, in Istanbul. Maybe I had a past lifetime as a warrior in the Ottoman Empire. I had this theory / feeling that I was a kid in a past lifetime in Bulgaria, and I was probably kidnapped by the Ottoman to become one of the janissaries, you know, the soldiers of the Sultan. And so I got a full circle, in a sense, coming back to that. And through that, I actually ended up meeting through a client in Turkey, Ibo, who became a really good friend of mine, and he trains in Jiu-Jitsu, and still today I train with him. I'm actually
he's a black belt under Leo Vieira, right?
Yeah, he's in Checkmat, and I'm actually going to train with him in 2 hours. We're going to go to the gym. There's no mats here, but I'm very good friends with him, which is one of the gifts of Jiu-Jitsu, beyond the fact that it made me more aware of the martial art itself. It introduced me to a whole community of people. I have friends in London, in Zurich, in Sofia, obviously, in Istanbul, in Hong Kong, people that I met from all over the world that do Jiu-Jitsu. And it's kind of like a secret club, you know, it's like a Freemasonry of the Jiu-Jitsu world. And it really brings you close to people because there's a lot of physical intimacy in jiu-jitsu, which creates also a lot of trust. Because if you train with somebody, you know, you have to make sure that they're tapping or that you're tapping, and you have to trust them, which takes the game, I think, and the reason why jiu-jitsu is so intimate to the next level, because people see you in your most desperate moments, hardly able to breathe, hardly able to move. And it's almost like you get them locked in order to release. It's almost like when you're opening the locked door of your house to somebody to come in, you know? So every time you do jiu-jitsu, in a sense, you're bringing somebody very close to your soul, to your body, to your psychology, and they get to see the real you. And I think that that's one of the greatest things about jiu-jitsu. And I think that that's what draws people to jiu-jitsu.
Nice. Do you have any jiu-jitsu world champions that you did the chart and you actually kind of saw they will be world champions? Or it's how to say, it sounds crazy, but there's different kind of people, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of the charts I did for famous people in the jiu-jitsu world were already champions. So a few of the Gracies, in the checkmate world, of course, but they're already, you know. But what I did do a lot of time is, let's say, warn about period that there could be a lot more injuries or times that will be better for them to go, for example, to competition when Jupiter is touching Mars or things like that. So astrology can be used for not only competitions, for economy, for when to have kids. So it basically works for everything. And there was even a school in Hong Kong that called me to ask when is a good time to open the school. And I know that they're doing very well. So hopefully the time was an auspicious time.
That's strange because actually, I'm not sure if you're actually trying to convince people that astrology is really working. The same way we are trying to convince people that Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is really a good martial art for them or for their kids. So how do you fight with?
I'm not a missionary, thank God. In none of my books, I try to persuade people to do astrology. In fact, in my book, Cosmic Navigator, that is in Bulgarian, there's a whole chapter there that I say, I don't know how astrology works. There is no scientific proof to astrology. In fact, when I was teaching the first time in astrology class in Bulgaria, I told people, stop talking about astrology as a science. It is not a science. It's an art form. It's a symbolic system. There is no proof to astrology. I'm the opposite. So 4 people from the Academy of Astrology in Bulgaria stood up and left and wrote really bad things about me because they felt that I do harm to astrology. So I'm the opposite, actually. I'm the anti-missionary of astrology. I thank God I have enough work that I don't have to sell myself, thank Lord, because I'm a terrible salesperson. So in fact, if anything, I persuaded people from astrology. But with jiu-jitsu, you know, I don't send people that I think that will be harmful to other people. I can identify when people have a lot of ego. I would not send somebody that has a lot of ego to jiu-jitsu because I think that they can be
just for our some of the watchers are gonna be frustrated because, as you said, you have a kind of storm in your place now. So
yeah,
hopefully one day when you come back in Bulgaria, we can do it in the studio, because usually we are not using Zoom, but it depends on your schedule. So some interesting one interesting fact actually, that because of you, or of course everybody can say this is a coincidence and it's not the reason why, but actually one of our really genius kids, Monica, was sent by you in our gym, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And we were laughing with one of the coaches, with Ivan, that it sounds funny, you know. And also another funny thing is that actually this story came from her mother when we were for the first time in European Championship for Kids, held before the pandemic in Ireland. And we were eating ice cream, meeting the midnight after she actually became second place silver medalist from the European, and we were eating ice cream, and her mother, do you know that actually Gahl recommended me to sign up Monica to a martial art? So it was really like strange thing, but as you said, you're reading what you're seeing. There is no science behind it, so people can believe or they cannot. And I think this is almost the same in jiu-jitsu. You can believe in your teacher and your techniques, and you can still working on them. And after a while, probably they can start working, or you can leave and decide that, oh, this is not for me. So,
of course, I mean, I think there is no scientific proof to God or love, or a reason why you fall in love with someone and somebody else falls in love with somebody else. Science doesn't engulf everything on the planet. Science is supposed to help us understand creation. It doesn't necessarily dictate creation. But I think that there's many tools that we have that can help us. I think that jiu-jitsu is a tool, yoga is a tool. Not everybody is for yoga, but some people do yoga and jiu-jitsu, and it improves their yoga and it improves their jiu-jitsu. So I think that really the holistic approach of trying things and being open to everything without dismissing things, without knowing anything about them, because most of the people that don't believe in astrology are usually people that have never studied it. They just decide that they don't. And there is a phenomena that happened with psychologists that was a big deal. That's why they started being very anti-astrology in psychology in the academy, is because a lot of psychologists that were against astrology decided to study astrology to be able to attack it better. And woe and behold, they became astrologers. And when that happened again and again and again, that's why the psychology department came up with declarations that are very aggressive against psychology, even though Jung, who was the greatest psychologist, used astrology. So again, I don't think I could have been a good astrologer without studying psychology before. I don't think I could have done a good jiu-jitsu if I haven't done Kabbalah and astrology and learning to accept situation. If I would have tried to do it as a young person, I probably would have broken my bones or somebody else's bones, you know? So I think everything is connected. That's my theory.
This is actually a very good perspective that in order to learn and in order to become better, you have to accept sometimes good, sometimes bad things. And that's actually connected to my next question. Actually, this is a combination of questions. So how jiu-jitsu helped your life, or especially not only your life, but your work? Or is it actually, if there is a connection at all between them, if you can share? And also, after that, you can transit to, because you're usually traveling, especially half of the year, and because of that you have many trainings or many gyms you're visiting. So if you can share some of your thoughts, some of your experiences, it will be very helpful, because usually this is something I try really often to talk with our students. If you want to compare, you have to go different places, and you can have a comparison. But in the same time, Bulgarians, or at least what I'm seeing, we try to compare with everyone in everything in order to prove ourselves that we are better, or we have better conditions, or we are in a better spot. So give us your thoughts about this. After you
That was the longest question ever. I don't even remember what it was in the beginning. But
yeah, but it's a combination. So how your life improved because of jiu-jitsu, and then after visiting so many different gyms, what brings those different gyms in your life, and especially in your jiu-jitsu after that?
I think that my case is very different, because I travel for 4 days here, 6 days here, 6 days there. And I always ask myself, well, I would Google before, where is the best coffee shop? That's the most important. Where is a gym, just in general, to do other things? Where is jiu-jitsu? You know, these are the things that I look for the most, let's say, in my Google research. And the good thing about it is that I have really good friends all over the world. They come to visit me, I come to visit them, which is great. The problem is that everybody has a different perspective on jiu-jitsu. So I could go from Sofia to, I don't know, Zurich, And they'll tell me, who told you to do this? I mean, that's what I do. No, you should do it like this. And I go to London. Why don't you do it like this? Oh, well, they told me to do it in Sofia, but in Zurich, they told me not to do it. Well, Zurich is wrong. You should do it like they said in Sofia. So for me, I started like surrendering. And what I've realized is that I'm kind of a sponge, and I've learned something and then I pass it along. So I think I have maybe a different kind of chaotic game in a sense. But what it taught me a lot, I remember when I got my meniscus from Jiu-Jitsu, I was with Ibo.
Not an often injury, guys. This is not an often injury in Jiu-Jitsu.
But I was with Ibo in his doctor there in Istanbul doing the MRI, because it happened to me in Istanbul. I think it happened in Hong Kong, but I carried it to Istanbul. And I told him, why do you think it happens to me? I don't understand it. I was a white belt. I don't understand, why am I getting all these injuries? And he said, why? Because you're fighting like you're a 240 kilo person and you're just 68 kilos. That's why. I said, what do you mean? He said, you constantly go, you don't stop, you don't stop to breathe. You are in the bottom and you're constantly trying to move. You're not trying to wait a second, take a breather. When you're on top, you're constantly moving around. You're not like relaxing into the pose. He said, first pose, then submission. First, how do you call it? First
position before submission.
And then, yeah. I said, okay. And then I've realized he's not talking about my jiu-jitsu. He's actually talking about my personal life. I go from one place to the other. I go from Hong Kong that I work 7 and 8 sessions a day. I fly. I also work on the flight. I'm actually writing the book. Then I land in Sofia. The day after, no relaxation or nothing. 9 o'clock in the morning, I have sessions again. And 12 o'clock, I'm going to Twisted Jiu Jitsu to do some jiu-jitsu. I come back, immediately more readings. I don't stop because I feel like, why stop? What am I going to do when I'm going to lie there like and chill out a day in Sofia? What am I going to do? So I might as well just work if I'm already there. And I've realized that was my lesson from jiu-jitsu. You cannot continue being like that. And also, I've realized, and we just talked about it like a week ago, that my game was always much more from top. It still is, because I was a gymnast. I like to jump around, and maybe it's some kind of a control thing. I don't know. And I've never really processed being a bottom, being in that place that's more vulnerable in a sense. And, you know, in astrology, in the Kabbalah, in alchemy, they say as above, so below. So as the top, so the bottom. You can only be good in doing magic, in doing alchemy, in doing business, if you understand philosophy and you understand the engineers. If you understand the up and you understand the below. If you understand the top game and the bottom game. So I'm still learning, but I think that jiu-jitsu is a wide enough philosophy and physical activity that allows the breadth of creation to be expressed through it, in a sense. You know, so those are the things that I'm still trying to learn.
Okay, so it helps your life. Can you add something in your work, or it's the same thing? Like before you starting doing jiu-jitsu, what was different?
Yeah, I think that it's not like, you know, like when you have these stories of I did this IM workshop and now I am happy and I hug everybody. I think that what jiu-jitsu does is a constant mirror to your life. If you're willing to look at the mirror and see that you have a big pimple here and you should maybe, you know, do something about it, that's great. Jiu-jitsu is what it is. It's a great mirror because it's so powerful in a sense. And it's up to us if we decide to look at it or not. But for example, I noticed that I got the same feedback from a very famous teacher that I started teaching with in the United States. And she told me, you know, your classes are the most amazing classes I've seen. The only problem is too much. You're giving people too much. They can't even keep writing. You're too much. You should learn to breathe. You should learn giving exercises. You should give space in your classes, more breaks in your classes. And then I saw, wow, there's still parts in my life. I thought, oh, I took care of it. Now I don't get injured. Thank God, you know, for now. But everywhere, what Jiu-Jitsu does, it shows you, okay, you thought you got this game right, great, but now what about this part? You know what I mean? So Jiu-Jitsu is not some magic trick that immediately improves your life with everything. It constantly challenges you to go better. The same way that I don't think any black belt ever gets to the point that they say, I know everything. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I think that in general, I think it's definitely improved my life, not only through my friends and through realizations, but also physically.
okay. And as I mentioned before, can you compare, like, I'm not trying to make you point, oh, this is your gym or your academy is the best. I'm just trying to convince people that comparing is something in the same time wrong and right. So you can compare a few things and it could be right, but in the same time it could be really, really wrong. So can you give us your thoughts about the gyms you've been compared to compared to us, because this is our podcast and people want to compare our academy and our jiu-jitsu to worlds. So you can give your perspective and you can be as honest as possible. It doesn't matter.
To be honest, it's something that I'm asked a lot in Bulgaria. Can you compare Bulgaria to other countries? Can you compare the people? Are they more open? Are they more closed? I noticed in Bulgaria, there's a lot of this obsession with comparison. I think that it's coming from a place of insecurity, to be honest. You're a double Capricorn, the country. So in one sense, you think that if you're going to compare, you're going to improve. But it ain't necessarily so. And like you said, comparing is good, comparing is bad. In math, if you have something that you can cancel out from both sides of the equation, you just cancel them out. You don't think about it too much. What I think you could do is you could learn from astrology in the sense that Sagittarius is the sign of truth. It's also the sign of Bruce Lee, so it's related to martial arts. And it's a sign of traveling. I would suggest for people, that's why you go to competition. You don't competition to compete, especially outside of Bulgaria. You go to not compare, but to learn how to roll differently with people from different countries and different schools. And I think that that's why Sagittarius, which is the sign of traveling, is the sign of truth. You want the truth about your studio, about the level, you need to travel, you need to connect to different cultures. And it's funny enough, Sagittarius is also teaching, and you can be a better teacher with what you guys are doing. Personally, I think that your gym is cleaner than most gyms that I've been to in New York. I'm not going to compare with certain names because, I don't want to get into trouble.
No need, please.
Being killed in New York, walking in the streets there, I think that also what I love about you guys is that you're something out of nothing, meaning that you started literally in a garage, and if you think about it, you're like Steve Jobs in a sense, or Microsoft. It's not like somebody came to you and opened a franchise in your place and you started growing because of that. It was self-made. So you know how they say he's a self-made man or a self-made woman. I think that the jiu-jitsu in Twisted, at least, that what I feel is self-made. It's meaning that you've created your own brand in a sense. And of course, you're affiliated with him, affiliated with her. It doesn't matter for me. And what I also see is a constant expansion, not only of the size of the gym, but also of the level of the people and the amount of the people. And I also sense, because I've seen you, it's been 6-7 years. I don't remember. I don't know. I haven't counted.
Almost 8.5.
Okay, so if I know 8.5, it's almost a decade in a sense. I've really seen you guys grow, even though I only met you in the same building. But even inside the building, there was changes from that one room to the extra room to another floor. And it's not only physical changes, because I think physical changes are an echo.
Yeah, I'm bolder a little bit.
Yeah, a reflection of, a emotional or better understanding of who you want to be affiliated with even, and what kind of connections you have to the teachers above you, not only below you. So I have to admit that even though Sofia or Bulgaria is not considered to be the richest place on the planet, your gym is actually one of the most well-designed, well-kept, and well-functioning one, even though you tend to think that you could do better or you should compare. I don't know if it's necessarily true. A lot of time it's comparison is not coming to show that we're better. A lot of the comparison is coming actually from lack of confidence, not overconfidence. So that's one of the things I would say.
Thank you. We're gonna approve the joining of Georgie. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to invite him. He's a blue belt, and usually I don't believe blue belt deserves so much attention, but he's gonna add something like in the conversation for the last 10 minutes. So thank you for your words. And another important detail about what you already said is that actually you started training with me back in 2014, and actually you're one of the first people who ever took a private with me. And it was very strange for me because in the beginning, I didn't know who you are. I just received an email. And because I left my job 3 days before that, I was able to take the private. And I was sitting in my dining room. And usually I'm not watching TV, but in that day, the TV was on. And at one point, there is a famous show. You've been to this show many times in Gala with actually I think she's a friend of you. Actually, you're every time you're in Bulgaria with her, and it passes the show was passing and say we are now with the famous astrologist Gahl Sasson, and he's gonna share his thoughts about Bulgaria in 2014, etc., etc. And I said who? Gahl Sasson, let me check the emails. So I checked the emails. I said, oh no, this is not possible. So I've been watching 30 minutes of your show before the private. It was really, really funny, I think. So yes, you started training with me when we were back in the days. We were with our first teacher, and after that we actually joined CAIO, joined the association of CTA, and really work our asses on building Twisted as a good brand, as a good messiah on Jiu-Jitsu. And I hope we can continue and we can bring the Jiu-Jitsu even more. Can you share actually how many days you're training now compared to before? Because I know you're training a little bit less now. And also how you choose the people you can train with. So it's not only the privates, right? I mean, sometimes you're joining classes. So do you think it's a bet to choose your partners, to choose the people you train with? And if not, why? If yes, why? So just share your thoughts.
No, I mean, it's not like I did less now. I mean, after 2.5, I saw you a week ago. It was my first class after 2.5 years, because the minute the pandemic hit, at least in LA, the schools were closed and it was kind of done. And then I didn't reconnect to it. So actually, Sofia brought me back to it. And now in Istanbul, I'm going to hopefully continue. I think that usually I do 3 times a week when I can. Classes, it's difficult for me because I travel so much. And most of the classes in Checkmate are an hour away from LA. And if you know LA, the traffic there is kind of bad. So what I did is I converted my garage to a Jiu-Jitsu place. So I have my tiny little Jiu-Jitsu place where I also trained in general.
You're ready to open a gym?
Yes. I opened a gym only for me and my cat. That's the people that go there. But in the pandemic, it kind of saved me. But I'm hopeful to go back there. And I think that, you know, my Jiu-Jitsu drip is completely different. Even the way I emailed you is because I basically Googled Twisted. I mean, I Googled Jiu-Jitsu in Sofia and you guys came up, thank God. But that's how it works. I think that we all have an interesting synchronicities. And it's kind of funny because my name Gal in Hebrew means a wave, you know, like a sine wave or a wave in the ocean. And to roll, like Jiu-Jitsu rolls in Hebrew means gal. So if I want to say to you, hey, do you want to roll? I will use the verb that is basically take one wave, put it another wave, you have a wheel. So gal in Hebrew means to roll and it means a wave. And I thought it's kind of interesting because you have the wave above and you have the wave below. Again, back to the what we talked about as the top game and the bottom game. So I think that everybody, if they look deep inside, I don't think there's something magical about me at all. I just think that people, if they start paying attention to how they started rolling, what is the feedback they get from rolling, if they start paying attention to small details like that, they'll find a lot of magic in how they got to jiu-jitsu, what jiu-jitsu does to them, who they met in jiu-jitsu, how it changed their lives. You know, I think that, like I said, I think the good thing about jiu-jitsu that I didn't find, because I used to do taekwondo, I used to do different kind of martial arts, I didn't find that depth that I found in jiu-jitsu. And maybe because jiu-jitsu itself traveled from Japan to Brazil, you know, now they say the Mecca is the southern part of California. Maybe it's going to move from there someplace else, because it keeps journeying, it keeps moving.
Spreading, actually, it's spreading a lot faster than many other martial arts.
Yeah.
But people are usually saying because it's young. It's like it's too young. So this is the reason so many people are training. But I'm not sure this is the only reason. I think the chance you can practice a martial art and at the same time have a good time on the mats is the reason people are choosing it most likely and most commonly nowadays.
I think the reason why is because there is an after effect. We even talked about it last time. You get an after effect with the endorphins and everything that rolls in your body because of the nature of rolling in jiu-jitsu. When you do taekwondo, when you do karate, when you do even judo, you don't get that from the sparring. So I think physically speaking, it makes you high. And that's one of the reasons I saw a lot of ex-addicts go to jiu-jitsu. And one of the things that I do for people, sorry, but I send a lot of people who are addicts to jiu-jitsu because it's a safe way to replace one addiction with the other. So if you need to be addicted to something, you better be addicted to rolls than to, I don't know, rolling something else.
Do you think this is the reason jiu-jitsu is usually called sect?
Who said that?
I don't know, probably people who don't understand it, or if they...
No, I never heard that anywhere in the world. What is that, the Bulgarian thing now?
No, it's not Bulgarian thing. It's in BJJ Eastern Europe. So this is like a very famous newsletter, you know?
Eastern Europe then.
Yeah.
So no, forget about it. It's not a, oh, Jesus Christ, a cult. You know, a cult, what a cult. You lock people inside and don't let them out of Twisted Jiu Jitsu until they submit to what? What a cult. You know what? There is something cultish about it because you have to submit. And in all the cults, you have to submit to the guru. But in this case, what's beautiful about jiu-jitsu is you really submit to yourself, not even to your opponent, if you really think about it. So I think it's nonsense. People will always say stupid things. Yeah, it's okay. We don't have to repeat them.
We are running out of time, so I think it's gonna be my last question, and then we can continue the conversation with George because he mentioned a few things. Probably he can discuss it with me. If he has a question, though, he can ask it. Do you have one?
Yeah, of course. I was just taking notes. Pleasure meeting you, Gahl. Hopefully next time I'll see you on the mat. I'm very happy that you like our place. I've been in this gym for 3.5 years. Best decision of my life. Started at 35 and it keeps 33 and I'm 36 and it really improved my life.
Old. You're old.
Yeah, I'm old. Yeah, my question is in regards to my personal jiu-jitsu, of course. I really want to pick up skillful players' brains about how do you think about your technique improvement? I mean, how are you, because you are aware about your body and the signals, but how do you improve your technique? Do you always go for like triangle submissions, or you try to like keep rolling and flowing and getting more in a general level, or one specific technique?
I mean, I usually, the reason why I used to like jiu-jitsu before is because I didn't have to think, because I think nonstop, even in my dreams, I think, and it's kind of boring to think so much. And what I liked about jiu-jitsu, at first at least, is that I could be the monkey I am. I could just jump. I can be doing stupid things.
As he said before, because now he's not liking it so much.
No, yeah.
He has to think.
Now I have to think. Now they tell me, why are you jumping? It's stupid. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And yes, I feel
White belt stuff.
I get stuck, I think, on that triangle thingy, the arm triangle, because it's familiar to me and it's easy for me to climb on the person. It's easy for me to be on the top. But I realize every time I do it, even when we rolled last time, I kind of felt almost ashamed that I did it. It's almost like I used a gun instead of using my hands. You know what I mean? It was unfair in a sense. And, you know, and Bobby told me, no, it's okay. People have their own techniques, but you have to improve it. But you're right that sometimes we hold on to something that's familiar and not open up. And I think, of course, it's always better to open up. Right now, when I'm going to Istanbul, my biggest thing that I want to do is to now only do things from the bottom, which is a terrible place for me to place my camera. You know, I like the camera much higher. I like bird eye view, God eye view. I don't like Hades point of view, but I have to start worshiping the cult of Pluto and Hades from the underworld and go under, you know. But you're right. It's always easy to go to what is familiar, but I think that's also how you get injured.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I am the opposite. I'm a bottom player, so
oh,
hopefully next.
I should learn from you. And
our last story is just for you, George. You can check it out lately. Okay, Gahl. So because it's the time ran out, and I promised you we won't take any more minutes from this from you. First, I want to thank you once again for giving us your time, because I know you're very busy and your schedule is very strict, as you mentioned. I hope next time we can discuss the reason women and kids can do jiu-jitsu and why, and why some people are actually following your instructions, because since we've met, I know many
people following my instructions
to join jiu-jitsu, to join jiu-jitsu. Okay. Not in general.
Because I'm a cult. I tell them what to do and they obey.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So next time, if you don't mind, we can
be there in March, and we'll do it in the studio the way you want it.
Yes, it will be very nice. And next time we can brand the scene. You're telling your stories to the seminars. We can put jiu-jitsu brand behind your back, so more people can come to the cult.
No, I told you I'm not a missionary, but I do things subtly. I actually mentioned you guys on TV a few times in the classes. I mentioned you. Yeah, I mentioned actually last class. I mentioned. I think when your wife came.
Yeah, we actually, it's very funny, because when we were walking through the streets last week, many people were turning around and they were whispering something. So people are actually recognizing you, and yeah, eventually they will recognize us.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you once again. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your thoughts. I think it was very different perspective, and at the same time, kind of support what usually people are, you know, wondering and trying to convince themselves. I hope you'll continue working on your stuff, on your jiu-jitsu, because I think you're actually one of the toughest people I ever rolled with. It's at this age, and at the same time, few years ago, no, this is true. A few years ago, you rolled with one of our main group of blue belts, and you actually tapped all of them. So it's a proof. It's a confirmation that you're actually doing well. So you have to just keep doing it, and probably next time you're gonna be a much more guard player than now, because your arm triangle is much better, but your guard is
sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks. What can we do? You say that you call the beast by the name.
Yes, we can still work on it, right?
Yeah, it escaped. It escaped in the pandemic. It escaped. I have to catch it.
Okay. Thank you once again. Wish you good time in Turkey and in Zurich. If you're going back, you can give a call to Emo, because I think he's
Still there, yeah, I saw him last time.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Жоре, искаш още 10 минути да продължим?
Да, разкажи ми. Много интересно ми стана.
Той разказа различни неща. Надявам се, първоначално имаше два момента, в които видеото за мен прекъсна. Не съм сигурен дали хората са го... т.е. дали ще се отрази от записването. Но то не е от много голямо значение, защото той всъщност нещата, които коментира, генерално според мен бяха така по-общи, по-широки. Интересното беше това, което спомена, че всъщност хората много често не си задават въпроса защо тренирам, какво ми носи това. Нали? И това, което се опитах аз нали, по някакъв начин да го попитам, макар че не се получи първия път, може би добре, въпросът ми беше добре структуриран, но генерално той по принцип в нашите разговори, когато му зададеш един въпрос, колкото и да е конкретен, той отговаря с много различни примери, перспективи и така нататък, защото начинът, по който мозъка му функционира, е винаги с някакъв сторителинг. Все пак той, разказвайки и говорейки пред хората за астрологията, неизменно намесва различни инструменти, като религия, като нумерология, кабала и така нататък, които съчетават различни неща. И е много трудно нали, да кажеш на някой да и не. Нали, купи си къща или живей под моста. Нали, смисъл не може да е в двата края. Така че всъщност неговият отговор беше нали, малко по-обширен на тази тема. И другото, което е, че моя въпрос с сравнението не беше за да валидира, че ние сме много велики или сме много добри. Мисля, в никакъв случай. Макар, че той направи доста добър коментар относно залата, какво е видял, какво е нали, сравнението. Тренирайки с хора като Лео Виейра в LA, нали, това е едно от топ местата в региона и въобще в Америка. Лео Виейра е легенда, която аз съм имал удоволствие да присъствам на него семинар в София преди доста години. И точно това си говорихме с него последния път, че Лео е уморен вече от може би от това да убеждава хората, че джиу-джитсу е супер готино или че той е много добър. И точно това мисля, че липсва на много хора, всъщност да не се опитват да се борят с вятърните мелници, а по-скоро да инвестират време в задаването на въпроса защо, как, това какво ми носи, как се чувствам аз, какво е за мен нали, цялото това нещо. И тогава може би ще бъдат доста по-щастливи. И другото, което имах предвид е, че хората много често се опитват, нали, като старата поговорка, не оценяваш нещо, което имаш, докато не го загубиш. И много обичам някой да разказва истории, къде е ходил някъде, какво е видял и как изведнъж нали, сравнението не е много лошо нали, тук при нас. Всъщност ние не правим нещата чак толкова зле. Нали? Ще валидира до голяма степен възможността като едно време. Кажи сега как го правят там чужденците. Така че, общо взето в тази тематика, за съжаление времето днес беше по-кратко, имахме проблеми с Zoom първите 10 минути, не знам какво стана, блокира, всичко беше някакво много странно. Той каза, че имало някаква буря в Турция, където се намира в момента и подозирам, че това е една от причините. Ти можеш да споделиш своите впечатления от това, което чу, като пак казвам, хората, които не са били на много разговори с него, малко се объркват, защото той винаги намесва нумерология, астрология, планети и така нататък, които всъщност...
Виж как обясни топ гейм и ботъм гейм.
Да, в смисъл, това е различното в неговата перспектива, което за мен първите години беше супер странно. Ама супер странно. Аз имах чувство, че говоря с някакъв на президента на сектантите. Разбираш? Но това, което той днеска спомена е, че всъщност той не смята, че нумерологията, астрологията или въобще всичките останали неща са... това не е наука. Това са едни символи, които човечеството ги е чело и ги е разпознавало с хиляди години. И просто той е нещо като модерния шаман. Нали,
той ги разчита.
Разчита ти нещо, което, примерно, следотърсача би успял да разчете в гората. Нали, тая клонка е счупена по този ъгъл, най-вероятно е тичал в тази посока или е ходил бавно и така нататък. Тоест, това не са някакви strict science, а е по-скоро неговите разсъждения за човек, който е прочел хиляди книги. Както казах, той не е върл беливър в такъв вярващ в християнство или в будизъм, но използва и тези инструменти, за да може да ти обясни нещо. Защото всъщност хората, това им е проблема. Те се лутат. Защо джиу-джитсу? Защо триангъл? Защо гард? Защото има различни причини, поради които ти трябва да стигнеш до тези изводи. Може да стигнеш чрез учителите си, може да стигнеш и сам.
Да. Много интересно беше, като го разказа това за God's perspective и zoomed out. Това за top и bottom game. Не знам, за мен лично джиу-джитсу като спорт е създаден за да продължи борбата след като някой те хвърля на пода и там да става вече решението, какво точно ще се случва. И затова аз имам тотално различна перспектива, но винаги е интересно, когато чуя някой с различна гледна точка, защото това ме обогатява и мога да погледна. Вече имам две и мога да погледна по два различни начина един същи проблем. Да, за жалост не успях да присъствам на целия разговор.
Нищо е, после ще мога да го изслушаш, ако...
Определено, не, със сигурност ще го изслушам, защото ми беше
20-30 минути
интересно.
бяха много различни от това, което сме виждали и чували. Всъщност, това, което каза тук, що ме наведе на мисълта, не. Бъди умен и не го прави. Супер.
Ако не искаш да страдаш над мито, беше изречението.
Това, което... Не, той разбрахме преди, просто не беше момент, иначе това, което правеше, не е лошо. Това, което всъщност беше много интересно е, че, което каза тук що, да, джиу-джитсу до голяма степен има, как кажа, превес в определена част от играта. Но истината е, че човек трябва да бъде наистина на щрек. Защото сега се върти в момента в Инстаграм и в социалните мрежи едно видео за едни улични банди, които в метрото, ако не се лъжа, се сбиват и така нататък. И има човек, който...
Тук ли?
Не е България. Такива с... буквално гангстерски такива банди или тинейджери в тази насока. Без значение, въпросът е, че един от хората, които хем бяга назад, хем прави 3 крачки напред, бяга 10 назад, извади нож и този нож се вижда от километри. И срещу него имаше хора, които вървяха така с разперени ръце и така нататък. И перспективата, в която го споменавам, това е, че ти казваш за мен, джиу-джитсуто е създадено за земята, ама както виждаш има хора, които те не искат да играят една и съща игра. Тоест вие не искате да биете, дали ще се гоните, без значение. Ако единия бяга с тротинетка, другия тича по него, някакси не мога да настигнеш. И въпросното момче върви напред. Този, който ръкомахаше с един нож пред друг негов приятел явно, неговият приятел се дръпна и този просто го наръга във врата за дори няма секунда. Така че това момче 100% си е заминало и перспективата, аз тренирам нещо и и съм безсмъртен, аз съм много против това нещо. Джиу-джитсуто ти дава всъщност възможност не само физически да имаш някакви сили, които очевидно са важни в определени ситуации, но по-скоро според мен развива психическата и менталната нагласа, която хората много често подценяват и всъщност е в основата на всичко. Тоест, ако главата ти е здрава, ако психиката ти е наред, ако всичко ти е по някакъв начин, дето се вика on check, ти няма да правиш глупости, може би ще приемаш стреса малко по-зряло, ще се справяш с него по-бързо или ще взимаш по-правилни решения. Така че това, което той коментира и това, което според мен е важно, е да разберем какво носи това бойно изкуство за нас като хора, съответно какво носи пък от перспективата, примерно на родител-дете, какво носи за детето. Защото ако ти започнеш да гледаш по този начин на нещата, всъщност може да се окаже, че за теб няма да донесе нужното или това, което ти имаш нужда, но пък ще даде нещо на твоето дете.
Не, аз не го казах това в смисъла, в този смисъл. Имах предвид, че самия спорт, нали, такива са ми правилата. Това е условността, в която се играе. Там някъде, където вече сте на татамито на пода. Не е казано, че всички борби завършват там. Знаеш, нали, standing guillotine и така нататък. Това е ясно. Просто исках да наблегна на гледната точка. Това беше по-важното за мен. Добре, ще се радвам да видим Гал в студиото, защото според мен енергията на разговор онлайн и разговор на живо е съвсем различна.
Със сигурност, просто проблема беше, че, както казах, неговия график е много зает. Той, когато е в България...
Ако трябва ще жертвам, ще го интервюрам аз рано сутрин, вие докато си спите.
Не мисля, че ставаш по-рано от нас, или поне когато не ходиш на тренировка. Или поне от мен, не знам за другите. Така или иначе, очите са ми станали в момента на банички тия дни. Това, което всъщност, нали, да приключим и разговора, е Гал ще го поканим. Той не беше този път го предвидил, аз също, защото всъщност разбрах в последния момент, че е тук. И се чухме и се видяхме, имахме обяд, тренирахме на следващия ден и така нататък. Но това, което е интересно, е, че аз го казах, ако не бях напуснал работа, никога нямаше да мога да тренирам с него. Което е много странно, защото когато му казах, нали, какво съм направил една седмица преди да се видим с него и че всъщност днешния ден, буквално 4 дена преди това, аз бях в офис и никога няма да мога да се видя най-вероятно с него. И той такъв, нали, извади си телефона, той има един безплатен апликейшн в неговия сайт. Разбира се, ако не мога четеш тия чартове, безмислен, т.е. ти безплатно няма никакъв смисъл.
Да.
Извади там, ти кога си роден, какво нали, тук мога ми кажеш по тази тема. И аз му казах кога съм роден, коя година, дата, там някакъв приблизителен час. И той му чим, ами да, всъщност ти няма как да избягаш от тази съдба, ще трябва да се занимаваш с някакъв вид маршал арт, защото сигурно в предишния ти живот си бил гладиатор и са те убили. Всъщност той наистина много пъти така реферира към връзката с предишния живот, който вярва в нея и който не смята, че има нещо свързано. Но е интересно, че много хора, които познавам и които съм се запознал заради него, след това са станали голяма част от джиу-джитсуто и от комюнитито и една от историите беше с Моника. Моника,
да, ти ми разказа.
Моника беше казала на майка и, че това дете трябва да се занимава с бойни изкуства и там ще има успех, там ще учи много, там ще се развива, всички останали неща ще бъдат на заден план. Майка й се довери на това цялото нещо и ето Моника, не знам колко години ще станат, 7-8, може би, е в залата и всички сме видяли до сега резултатите и не знам какво ще е за напред, но знам, че Моника е всеки ден в залата по 2 пъти и резултатите не закъсняват. Така че постоянството, търпението, постоянната работа, търсенето на себе си, това са процеси, които не ти трябва астролог. Трябва ти дисциплина и търпение.
Да, съгласен съм. Супер, Боби. Ами, добре, надявам следващия път да участвам. Може би аз реших, че ще правим разговор с Сашо и Иванко. Си казвам, ама защо в 10 сутринта? Това е тотално нетипично за вас. И когато влязох и видях Гал, бях такъв, добре, че знаех.
Добре, че се оправих.
Добре, че ходих на фризьор вчера.
Да. Надявам се за хората да е интересно. Аз по-скоро искам такъв тип гости, че са приоритетно за сега. Най-вероятно за напред ще имаме друг вид. Т.е. примерно гости от други клубове, гости от...
Да, това ще е супер.
различни места, защото според мен всеки има какво да каже и зависи от нас, искаме да го чуем.
Напълно съм съгласен. Благодаря ти, Боби. Искаш ли тази част да остане в подкаста?
Да, няма как.
Добре.
Ще правиш, сега не знаеш, като излезнеш, като свършим разговора за закъснелите, по принцип има 50 бърпита, там клякания и тия другите неща. Трябва да си...
Добре, ще ги направя виртуално.
Точно. Не в хола, с NFT.
Боби, всъщност, сериозно, искаш ли да затворим разговора на английски, да го монтираме към края на разговора с Гал, или тук да приключи разговора, защото той си е
тук аз мисля, че аудиторията, която ще гледа този разговор, няма да бъде, как да го кажем, надали ще бъде от чужбина основно, макар че хората търсят различни неща с него, най-вероятно ще попаднат на този разговор, но винаги можем да сложим два субтитра, че превържаваме разговора на български, който иска да го изслуша, който иска да го прекрати.
Добре, и все пак преди да завършим разговора, т.е. предлагам да го завършим и все пак да запишем нещо на английски, което ще помоля Монката да монтира след края на другата част, просто за да не се занимаваме с субтитри, ще бъде по-лесно.
Okay.
Добре, Боби, благодаря ти, че ме покани и беше удоволствие да присъствам, макар и за 10 минути на среща с Гал Сасон.
Thank you, people. Beautiful audience. Ето това много монтираме.
Добре. И до следващия път.
Чао.
Това, между другото, ни е епизод 40.
Уоу! Хората да почнат да се стягат и да пускат коментари и да шерват малко повече.
Да. Благодаря ви, че ни слушате и въпреки техническите недоразумения, продължавате да ни слушате и до следващия път. Чао. И сега просто ще запишем. And now we continue in Bulgarian. Sorry for everyone that's only understanding English.
Was busy. So the beginning of the conversation, due to Zoom problems or my problems, I don't know, was a little bit shorter. But as we discussed with Gal, next time probably he's gonna be around December or November, I don't know. Usually he's twice a year in Bulgaria. He's gonna join us in our podcast studio, or he can join the Superhuman podcast. We'll see. I think he's gonna be.
See how it goes. I want to get to know him and he to get to know me, so he's comfortable in talking to me. So I'm not in a rush, but nevertheless, we'll be very happy to have every visitor from Bulgaria
of course,
or not.
it depends totally on you. We've discussed this many times. The guests are your work, your business. But I'm just saying that people like him are very interesting and they're not popular in Bulgaria besides Gala.
I agree, but bear in mind that it's also another person's perspective on does he feel comfortable talking to me, because it's my podcast and I want to make sure that I'm not inviting him because I'm going to get huge following after he's on the podcast. I just want to invite him to give a perspective. Why is he coming to Bulgaria that often, and how can a successful person from outside of our country come back and give back to us with his experience and knowledge. So this is what I was referring to. And then, yes, once again, just because Bobby, it should be his duty to say it, but I will say it, guys. You're more than welcome to join Twisted Jiu Jitsu whenever you're in Bulgaria, to train with us, to try Jiu Jitsu, or just to be part of our, I believe, great team. So see you here, and then we continue in Bulgarian.
See you next time, yeah.